There's something breathtaking about a woman who has been broken, not because she shattered, but because she chose to stand up with trembling hands, tear-filled eyes, and a soul that still believes in light. They said heartbreak would destroy her. They said the cracks would swallow her smile, that her laughter would never sound the same again. And maybe, for a while, they were right. There were nights when the silence screamed louder than words ever could. Mornings when she questioned her reflection. Is the woman I dreamed of becoming? But something miraculous happened, not all at once, slowly, one deep breath at a time, one brave step each morning. She didn't wait for someone to come fix her. She learned to sit with the pain and listen. She made peace with her past and chose to build a new beginning with the pieces left behind. They say the strongest steel is forged in fire. She was tested in the flames of betrayal, loss, and rejection. But what emerged wasn't fragile. It was fierce. It was focused. It was fearless. Fearless. She became her own safe place, her own motivation, her own reason to get up. No prince, no fairy tale, just her, a strong woman with a broken heart that still beats with purpose. Her smile, it's not naive anymore, it's earned. Her silence, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Because now she knows you can break a woman's heart, but you can never break her soul. Not when she chooses to rise. A broken heart is not the end, it's the awakening of true strength. Pain doesn't destroy a woman. It redefines her. Fatma, when a woman experiences heartbreak, something deep within her shifts. It's not just about the tears she cries in the quiet hours of the night or the ache in her chest when she remembers what was lost. It's about how that pain carves into her soul and awakens a part of her she didn't even know existed. It is in these moments of deep sorrow, when she is stripped of illusions, expectations, and dreams she once held close, that her real strength begins to surface. Not because she was never strong before, but because he never had to prove it this way. There is something sacred about the silence that follows heartbreak. In that silence, she begins to hear her own voice more clearly. The voices that used to drown her out, the ones that told her she wasn't enough, wasn't beautiful enough, wasn't lovable, begin to fade. And as her heart breaks, it breaks open, making room for her truest self to rise. Her strength doesn't roar. It doesn't show itself through grand gestures or loud proclamations. Instead, it whispers in the quiet decision to get out of bed. It shows in the way she still shows up, still gives, still hopes, even when the world gave her every reason to shut down. A broken heart humbles her. It takes away the masks. It peels away everything that isn't real. The roles she played to keep others happy, the way she stayed silent to keep the peace, the parts of herself she hid to feel accepted. All of that begins to unravel. And in that unraveling, she doesn't fall apart. No, she begins to find herself. She begins to realize that the love she was begging for from someone else is the very love she's always needed to give to herself. She learns that her worth doesn't decrease just because someone failed to see it. Her value isn't tied to how she's treated, but how she treats herself in the aftermath of being broken. This pain, this unbearable ache becomes her teacher. It teaches her boundaries. It teaches her self-respect. It teaches her the power of walking away, not in anger, but in quiet dignity. It teaches her to choose herself even when it's the hardest thing to do. She may not recognize it at first, but in each step away from what hurt her, she is stepping into her own power. She begins to carry herself differently. Not because she wants to prove anything, but because she has nothing left to prove. Her worth is no longer up for negotiation. She no longer accepts half-loves or broken promises. She knows now that she deserves more, because she's lived with less and survived. She's learned that love that requires her to lose herself isn't love at all. And though her heart may still ache from time to time, she doesn't let it define her. She lets it refine her. She lets it refine her. She becomes more than what happened to her. She becomes more than the goodbye that broke her. She becomes more than the memories that once haunted her. And she realizes that healing isn't about forgetting or pretending it never hurt. Healing is about remembering without bitterness. It's about being able to look at the scars and smile, not because it didn't hurt, but because she made it through. Through heartbreak, she develops an empathy that is rare. She knows what it feels like to be shattered, so she becomes a safe space for others who are falling apart. She learns to listen deeply, to see people beyond their words. Her pain gives her eyes that notice what others miss. Her heart, though once broken, becomes stronger than ever, capable of deep love, deep forgiveness, and deep compassion. There is nothing more powerful than a woman who has been broken and chose to rise. She is not bitter. She is but jaded. She is not jaded. She is wiser. She doesn't carry revenge in her heart. She carries clarity. She is not angry at the world. She is in alignment with herself. She doesn't just survive heartbreak. She transforms because of it. A broken heart doesn't destroy her. It strips away the false layers and invites her to return to herself. That's where her true strength lies. Not in denying the pain, but in embracing it. Not in pretending to be okay, but in allowing the process of healing to unfold, however long it takes. She doesn't rush it. She doesn't numb it. She sits with it, learns from it, and lets it change her, for the better. In the end, she walks through life differently, her head held higher, her presence more grounded, her heart still open, but no longer naive. She has known pain, but she has also discovered the power that comes from it. She is not the same woman she was before the heartbreak, and that's the point. She is more, she is deeper, she is real, and above all, she is strong. And above all, she is strong. You can shatter inside and still shine outside. Scars are not shameful. They are the proof that you survived what tried to silence you. There's a silent kind of strength that lives inside a woman who has been broken and still chooses to stand tall. She may walk into a room with grace, her smile soft and warm, her voice calm and steady. No one would guess how many storms she has weathered, how many nights she's cried herself to sleep, how many times she's felt like giving up. The world sees the light in her eyes, but doesn't always recognize the darkness she has walked through to keep that light alive. She is proof that you can be shattered on the inside, absolutely deeply broken, and still carry yourself like the sun rises just for you. What many fail to realize that the glow she carries doesn't come from ease or comfort. It comes from struggle. It comes from pushing through days when everything felt heavy, when breathing itself felt like a burden. Her light is born from the cracks, the very places where she broke open, where life tried to dim her, silence her, erase her. But instead of fading away, she began to shine. Not because she wasn't heard, but because she refused to let the hurt define her. We live in a world that idolizes perfection, that tries to hide pain, that shames vulnerability. But she has learned that there is no power in pretending. She doesn't mask her scars to make others comfortable. She carries them with quiet dignity, like medals earned in a war no one saw. They aren't ugly to her anymore. They are reminders. Reminders that she went through something that could have destroyed her, but it didn't. That she felt pain so deep it changed her. And yet, she is still here. Her scars tell a story, not of weakness, but of resilience. Each one speaks of a moment she could have broken beyond repair, but didn't. A moment she could have chosen to harden, to shut herself off from the world, but instead chose to keep her heart open. These are not just emotional wounds. They are proof of her endurance. They are the echo of her courage, quietly humming beneath her smile, beneath her silence, beneath her calm. Sometimes people assume that because she looks strong, she's never been through anything. But strength is rarely loud. It's not always displayed in obvious ways. It's in the way she continues to show up when no one checks on her. It's in the way she supports others when no one sees her pain. It's in the way she picks herself up over and over again, even when she's tired of doing so. She's not pretending to be okay. She's learning how to live with her broken pieces without letting them break her spirit. She understands now that pain changes people. It softens the edges of judgment and deepens the capacity for empathy. When someone else says, "I'm not okay," she doesn't rush to fix it. She sits with them in it because she knows what it's like to want someone to simply understand. Her shattered moments taught her not just how to survive, but how to be present with others in their storms. Her compassion doesn't come from books or words. It comes from experience, from being cracked open and still choosing love. And perhaps the most remarkable part of it all is that she didn't let her wounds close her off from joy. She didn't let betrayal make her bitter. She didn't let heartbreak turn her cold. There is an elegance in that, in still believing in goodness, in still being kind, in still offering her heart to the world despite knowing the risks. That takes a different kind of bravery, the kind you don't see in fairy tales, the kind that builds slowly, quietly, and unshakably. She doesn't need to prove her strength to anyone. Her life is the proof. Every breath she takes after being silenced, every smile after being shattered, every dream after being doubted, they all tell you who she is. A woman who learned that shining isn't about being perfect or untouched by life. It's about embracing the brokenness and still choosing to rise. about knowing that her cracks don't diminish her light. They let it pour through in ways it never could before. You can look at her and think she's just another ordinary woman. But if you listen closely, you'll hear the echo of her battles. You'll feel the depth in her presence. You'll see the flicker of fire in her eyes, the kind that only comes from having been through the dark and choosing to walk back into the light again and again. She doesn't wear her pain like armor, but like a quiet confidence. She knows who she is because of what she's endured, not in spite of it. So when you see her shining, know that it's not because her heart has never been broken. It's because she was shattered and still chose to shine. The world may see a smile, but behind it is a warrior who rebuilt herself. She turned silence into power, loneliness into self-love. There's a certain kind of smile that holds 1,000 untold stories, not because it's fake, but because it's earned. A smile that doesn't just appear out of happiness, it appears out of resilience. The kind of smile a woman wears when she's been through enough to break a person, and yet she stands tall, carries her pain with grace, and dares to smile anyway. The world looks at her and sees someone calm, collected, perhaps even lucky. But behind that quiet strength is a battlefield no one ever saw. She's not smiling because she's untouched by pain. She's smiling because she chose to fight through it, to heal through it, and to live despite it. The woman you see today didn't arrive here untouched or unchanged. She once cried in silence. She once sat alone, feeling like the world had forgotten her. She once questioned if she mattered, if her voice would ever be heard again. There were days when her reflection in the mirror felt like a stranger. She wasn't sure who she was becoming, only that she had lost so much of what she once held dear, her confidence, her laughter, her trust, her sense of belonging. But in those quiet, unbearable moments, something began to stir deep inside her. She didn't have a loud breakdown. She didn't scream for the world to notice her pain. No, she sat with it. She felt every ounce of it. And in that silent, invisible suffering, she discovered something extraordinary herself. It wasn't easy. Rebuilding never is. There's nothing glamorous about learning to love yourself after you've been broken. It's messy, it's lonely, it's terrifying. But she knew that no one was going to save her, not in the way she needed. The rescue had to come from within, so she picked up the pieces of who she used to be. Some were too damaged to use again. Others fit together in new ways she never expected. But slowly, gently, she started to reconstruct herself. Not to become who she was before, but to become someone new, someone wiser, softer, stronger. Her silence was once a space filled with sorrow. Now it's her sanctuary, a place where she reconnects with her soul. A place where she doesn't need to explain her pain or prove her worth. She found comfort in the quiet, not because she stopped needing people, but because she stopped needing validation. She learned that being alone doesn't mean being empty. In fact, some of her most powerful growth came in solitude e light. It was in those still moments that she started to fall in love with her own company. She started to listen to her needs, her desires, her truth. Loneliness once felt like punishment. Now it feels like peace, where she used to fill the silence with distractions. She now fills it with intention. She reads, she creates, she rests, she dreams again, not because someone else is inspiring her to, but because she finally gave us. A strong woman doesn't wait to be saved. She learns to save herself. She walks forward with broken pieces, crafting a masterpiece out of her ruins. There comes a point in every woman's life when she realizes no one is coming to rescue her. No magical moment, no perfect partner, no divine hand will swoop in and make everything okay. And in that moment, though it may be painful, something extraordinary happens. She begins to rise, not because someone gave her permission, not because the timing was perfect, but because deep down, she understands that her healing, her journey, and her strength are her own responsibilities. She stops hoping to be rescued and starts building the courage to save herself. She wasn't born knowing how to do this. Life taught her. Disappointment shaped her. Betrayal sculpted her strength. Heartbreak cracked her open. And in the silence that followed, she met herself, the raw, real, unfiltered version. She didn't like what she saw at first. There were too many questions, too many wounds, too many regrets. Yet she stayed with herself through the uncomfortable stillness. Slowly, she began to see that every broken piece had a story. Every scar was a lesson. And every fragment, though once painful, still held power. She started to gather those broken pieces, not with bitterness, but with care. She didn't try to glue them back into what she used to be. She knew she was never going back to that version of herself. That version believed in fairy tales and rescues, in being chosen and being saved. This new version believed in truth, in effort, in grit. She believed in doing the hard work, of healing, of growing, of transforming. And so, piece by piece, she began to shape something new, something more honest, something more powerful. There is something profoundly beautiful about a woman who rebuilds herself, not because she wants to prove anything to the world, but because she owes it to herself. She knows the pain of depending on others who didn't show up. She knows the sting of expectations unmet, of love unreturned, of effort unacknowledged. But instead of letting that turn her cold, she lets it guide her toward herself. She becomes her own home, her own shelter, her own sanctuary, and in doing so, she becomes unstoppable. She doesn't wait for the storm to pass. She learns to walk in the rain. She doesn't wait for someone to fix her. She finds tools and builds something better. And she doesn't let her wounds define her. She lets them remind her of how far she's come. Her pain isn't her prison. It's her palette. It's her palette. With every bruise, every scar, every tear, she paints a new chapter. She carves beauty out of devastation. She writes poetry from her silence. Her masterpiece isn't perfect. It's layered with grief, forgiveness, resilience, and triumph. And that's what makes it breathtaking. She walks forward not with certainty, but with courage. Every step she takes is a declaration that she is not broken beyond repair, that she is not defined by what hurt her, that she is not waiting to be chosen, rescued, or completed. She is already whole, just made of different pieces than before. Pieces that tell a story of strength. Pieces that say, I chose myself when no one else did. I stayed when it was hardest to. I found light in the middle of my darkest days. Some days, the weight of the past still lingers. Some mornings, the old pain whispers in her ears. But she doesn't let it paralyze her. She has learned how to speak back. How to say, yes, I remember, but I'm not there anymore. She honors her past without living in it. She carries her lessons without carrying the shame. She walks into the world with scars on her soul and fire in her heart. Not because she's unbreakable, but because she's unafraid of breaking again. She knows now that even in ruins, there is rebirth. Her strength isn't loud. It's not always visible to the world, but it lives in the small things, in the quiet decisions, the boundaries she sets, the peace she protects. It lives in the way she speaks to herself with more kindness than ever before. It lives in the moments she chooses to rest, to reflect, to rise again, and in the way she now trusts herself to handle whatever life brings. She is no longer chasing validation, love, or understanding from others. She gives all of that to herself. The love she once begged for, she now nurtures within. The safety she longed for, she now creates in her own presence. The approval she used to seek, she now grants herself every time she stands up and says, I am enough. She's not waiting anymore, not for the perfect time, not for someone else's permission, not for anyone to save her. She's already doing the work. She's already rising. She's already rising. With every piece she rebuilds, she becomes something more honest, more whole, more her. A strong woman doesn't just survive what tried to destroy her. She builds from it. She crafts something so powerful, so radiant, that the world can't help but notice. She was broken, but now she's a masterpiece. Watch.